Welcome everybody, I'm Louis, and today I'm going to show you our basic setup of an editor with basic convenience features. If you are not familiar with the project, I recommend you check out the very first, or zeros, devlog that explains what we are trying to achieve here. This isn't going to be a Bevy tutorial, but if you follow along, I will show you where to pick up the code fragments that I'm using to put together the very basics here. And then you can check out other tutorials that explain Bevy and how to use it. For starters, I'm going to just create a new project here. I have another project where I'm a bit ahead of this, but I thought it makes more sense to just break out the core of this. This is something that you can use yourself if you want to, just, as a starting point. Let's open this. Now, if you create a new project, you should pretty much see this. I opened the TOML file. This has nothing in it yet. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab from the Bevy website, you have the learn and getting started. And in here, you basically have the dependencies that you can pick up. I'm not going to pick up the version. There's an entry I can copy paste better. So workspace, and then let's pick the profiles. And as for the Bevy dependency itself, I'm going to pick the one with the dynamic linking. Just to be ahead of the curve. I'm also gonna need a new terminal here, and let's just build it. All right, now that the initial build is done, moving forward it should be a lot faster. Also, I didn't show you how to set up your editor and Rust or anything. You can find information on that on the Bevy website as well, or just look for Rust itself. If you are new to Rust, I recommend you the experimental cookbook. Was it? It has quizzes and practice projects that you can do yourself, and they actually explain and guide you through it. It's pretty thorough. I think it's a good starting point. Now, since we have Bevy, and we want something that looks like an editor, we'll just pick a crate that actually does that already. As you can see in this picture here, it looks like an editor. The Bevy Inspector EGUI crate that we are looking at is built around the Bevy EGUI, and there is another one that's the EGUI doc that lets you move panels here and there. And there is a great example that we can pick here. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy and paste. Maybe there's a button to copy the whole thing. Yeah. I'm just going to copy and paste all of that. And just get rid of everything in main. And just bring it in. I'm also going to just clean it up a bit, because we are not going to care about seam picking for the moment, or frame pacing, or anything of the sort. So I'm just cleaning this up, and everything is red. That's because we need to import those dependencies right now, and I'm also going to do that from the example cargo TOML. The only thing that you have to be careful about is the dev dependencies. We need those as well. I'm not going to sort out what we need and what not, because we probably need most of them. And if we don't, I recommend that you just remove what you don't actually use, because as you can see, this there are actually multiple examples here. So the dependencies here support all of them. it does worth the time to sort it out, but I may or may not pick anything from them. Anyway, we do need some of the dev dependencies as well. These are included only for tests and examples, but our project is actually like a good one, a real one. So I'm going to pick all of them. That should make the red go away. And I believe that if we do another build, because this will bring in a lot of dependencies, it's, as you can see, it's going to build another 27 dependencies. But it's a lot faster now. Right, as you can see, I made a little mistake here. I probably did not bring all of the dependencies. Of course, we need the actual Bevy inspector GUI dependency. Otherwise, it just makes no sense. Good. Now it's green. Let's run. And let's see what do we have here. So we have a wonderful UI. We can inspect our assets. We can inspect resources. And as you can see, we have an actual entity inspector with all of the components listed. Not everything works. I mean, images don't show up by default, but that's something we can take care of later. It's a matter of defining your own thing for certain things. But the important part here is that we have something that we can configure somehow, according to your needs. Just drop it here, drop it there. But I would like to point out the first problem that we will have and then we'll solve is just remember the layout that I did now, yeah, right? I'm going to close it and I'm going to run it again. And yep, it's back to where it was, which may or may not be what you want. In my case, I would prefer to have something that actually remembers the layout that you have. Maybe even let you, export it, import it again. So the very first thing that we are going to solve is just saving the layout. And the other thing is that you might have noticed that I rescaled the window, moved it around, and that also kind of disappeared. I have the same small window and it was all over the corner, which is another problem. It's not a problem with the inspector GUI itself. It's the fact that we just picked the default plugin from Bevy, which has a default window, which is what you've seen. So we are going to configure that too. Configure and then make sure that we can save and load the state of the window itself. To do that, the very first thing I'm going to do is just break this up to manageable parts, because this is an example. You are not supposed to like drop in and keep it. It shows how to work with everything that they have, but I'm not going to keep it. So I'm going to make this project a lib, primarily because the editor I'm building, I want to supply it either in the game or as a separate executable that acts on the game assets. So you can work with the predefined set of meshes and textures and everything. But for that, I need this to be like a library, and then the main part here will just simply instantiate the current lib for now. Later on, this will be a separate binary. But for the moment, we're just simply going to move everything here. The only thing that we don't want to keep as is basically the main function. Instead of the main function, of course, we are going to create a Bevy plugin. And then to make this a plugin, we are going to I pressed Control dot to bring up the contextual thing for the plugin itself, and then Visual Studio code will just bring up the missing thing. Pretty basic stuff. Anyway, we can safely grab all of this and then just say app and then there. So the only thing that changed is that the plugin will receive the current state of the app where it's mounted. And then everything in main needs to go, almost everything. We are going to keep at least the prelude so that we can add our plugin, which we name editor plugin, and then just bring in the thing. Also, we don't want to run it here. I think that would be a mistake, probably. So let's keep it like that. We have our plugin here, and everything else we are just go away. Keeping main simple is the goal. It's the best. Let's run it. And this is the reason we did the dynamic linking, so we only rebuilding the additional things we did. Anyway, we got back our default window, which is what we want. Basically nothing changed, we just broke out the code. The other thing I want to do, which might not be obvious, but if you read the code that the example gives you, there are a few things that should not be here, or maybe not a good place to have them here, let's say. Basically, I'm going to break out everything from here and again create another plugin just for the UI system. And the UI state goes there, basically everything that you see here. Oh, this is something that we can later on factor out even more to separate parts that belong together, maybe we make one just for specifically to handle the resources or the assets, or the only thing that I want to keep here is the setup, which creates that half box thing, spawn all of the PPR bundles and whatnot. It's the example content. I'm going to keep it here because for the moment it's all right. Later on we'll just completely delete it, so I don't mind that being here. But as for the rest, I'm going to again create another plugin. Some things will stay here. The setup, for instance. I'm also going to keep the setup of the Bevy default plugins here, because I want to customize the primary window we have. I'm also going to keep, let's say, maybe the register types here, and that's it. So everything from here to there should go to its own little plugin. So let's do that. Let's create that. I'm going to call that, let's say, my plugin. You can name this anything. Okay, so let's do this the easy way. I'm just going to copy everything here. Not that one, this one. Yep. And this one also added the mod here, by the way. That's what you saw the first pop-up. And what we want to do is copy over everything from there and remove the ones that we are not configuring here. We are not configuring the startup, and we are not configuring the things there. And then what's going to happen, I'm again just going to select everything, cut, bring them here, and format for the best. Here I'm going to move on. I'm going to keep one just to replace it. So this one should go. Again, let's match it together with the yep, and this one should be our plugin, which is this one. Yeah, and now all of the things are unused, which is exactly what we want to see here. And there is still an error here, which is coming from, I believe there is a, yeah, the main camera is not public here. We are going to make that happen and then save it. And then of course we are going to import it. All right, that should be it. Now the library itself is this one. We are going to add things here. For instance, the primary window persistence, we are going to mount it here. We are also going to customize this later on. But for the first part, we are just focusing on saving the state of the panels itself. And to do that, let's see, if you scroll in the code a bit, you will see there is something called the UI state here. And this state holds the layout of the panels, of course, which makes sense. And the lucky thing is that these are actually serializable, which means you can write them out into a JSON file or whatever format. But the point is that you can just dump it into a file and reload it. This is a resource, which means that it's a single entity component. There can be only one of these in your running application. So we can just, drop in, replace this, and that will update all of the layout. And to do that, we are going to create another plugin. This is how you get access to your resources. Actually, this is a mutable access. Of course, it's mutable because we want to rewrite it. Whatever is created at the beginning, we are going to overwrite it with the file content. I'm creating it this way because later on I might want to allow people to load an arbitrary file. So a JSON file that is the UI state that they like, for instance. Or maybe swap between different layouts with buttons, and this will make sure that I have an easy way to access that. For now, this will just read a specific file. Later on, I might ask it to read a specific file instead, but it will be easy to move on from here. For now, we don't know how to do that, so let's just not do anything. We are also going to create the on before close. Now, a specific thing here, I'm creating on before close, and well, I'm calling it on before close because this is something that we will handle the event of a window closing, more specifically in a state where it is before closing the window, but we already requested the window to be closed. If you do it in update, the window no longer exists, or at least it cannot be guaranteed that you still have the window, unless you find the system that cleans up the window in Bevy and then schedule your system to run specifically before that. In my case, I'm just going to put this in pre-update because I know that the event already exists, so we know that we have requested the window to be closed. That's it, basically, for this one. Of course, we are going to save the file and load the file, but we need some support on the file system to do that specifically. But in any case, what I'm going to do, I want to have my eGUI persistence added as part of this setup. I'm going to import it, of course. And that's it for this part. However, we have a lot of errors here. And then there is a lot of unused variables. But we don't care for the moment. What I want to see is that it still runs, you know. So the next thing we need is actually a way to save things, save files, you know. For the moment, what I want to do, I want a simple JSON, all right? I'm going to serialize the content in the persistence plugin, and then give it to another module that just saves the file to a specific folder. Which brings us to another problem that we need to bring in another dependency to handle the directories on whatever system you are. And that is going to be, surprise, surprise, directories. The other thing I'm going to just pick right now, because I know I'm going to need it, is serde, which is serialization for us. Let's create another file, which is going to be our file IO. We are going to use directories, more specifically project directories. You know, app data in Windows, local roaming, whatever. You have the matching things in Linux and iOS too. What I'm going to pick is specific to Windows because we are working on Windows while we are developing the game. So let's break this down. And we have to make sure that our configuration folder or directory exists. We are also going to somehow configure the directories create to point to our project path. So I'm going to, and then we have three things we need to add. Qualifier is, I think it should be like a domain ending thing, so like com, org, or whatever the organization is, the actual company name, and the application is the application that you're currently working on. So I'm doing it this way because hiding it behind the function could later on be easier than, you know, working with this one directly. If you have a, you know, a configurable path or something in your editor later on that you don't want, then you don't want to, you know, rewrite the whole logic to replace this specific thing just because of that. You will have to replace this one, I mean, literally, but not in anywhere else. You can choose either the local or the roaming if it exists. I'm going to go with this one and then just, you know, question its existence, and if it exists, great. We don't care. you need to enable the serialize feature on the Bevy window to make this work. So we have another error. It's the same thing, just on a different moving part. The eGUI doc, there we go, also needs sed enabled. All right, so actually I made a little mistake. Well, not a mistake. I'm just wasn't paying much attention as I was supposed to. So the problem here is that it's not enough to just copy over the code. We actually, need to care about it a little. Just make it serializable. This is because the original example wasn't meant to be serialized, so they only had the debug on the enum they created. We can easily add the serialize derives on it, and in any case, if we were to run this and let's say, well, it doesn't matter if we move it around or not. What we want to see is that we close it and then we get a file. And let me look for that specific file. All right. So if you open it and just format it nicely, you will see what's actually inside, and you will see the tree and the panels, laid out. This is all right. We just want to load it. So that's the next thing we should do. So let's jump back to this part actually where we restore the state. But before we restore the state, we probably need to load it, get the file back. Maybe we made a... Oh, yeah. We didn't implement that yet. Of course, we can't read the JSON file if it's, we never implemented it. That makes sense. So let's quickly do it. And if we could read it, just slap it over the other one. Wonderful. Why is this not used? Ah, yes, we don't need to. We don't need to. This doesn't need to be mutable because we are not mutably. We are not changing it. The changing part is here, but probably don't need that either. We are just reading it. So, what's wrong with you? I'm probably missing another question mark there. All right, and as you can immediately see, the previously saved file has been restored. So now we can, get the layout we want, and even the scale of the thing should stay. And we bring it back again. Everything is in the right place. Wonderful. Later on, we can as I said, we can offer the possibility to download the layout that you like, for instance, or just fire it to buttons where you can swap between the different layouts that we prepare based on the context of the editor. For the moment, this is all right. This does exactly what I want. However, we still did not work out the problem with the window itself, which is an entirely different problem. So let's do that now. Structure should be similar to the eGUI persistence. So we basically want to capture the same event and then probably not on a state, but let's say state. So let's grab this one. There is a little problem with the window. If you were to inspect it, and I mean we can just go ahead and inspect it. We already have the power to do so. This is the window that we want to serialize and store. As you can see, there are many things that are runtime only, basically. But there are a few things that we can grab here, grab from here, and put it in our own little configuration thing that we write out, and then when we load it back, we map it back to the state that we actually want to store. For instance, we want probably to store the presentation mode and the, well, no, not the presentation mode, the mode itself, which is the window, the borderless, and whatever. Later on, this is useful in your game too. We want position, resolution. We don't want to store the title. We are going to actually configure it window creation. This is the reason I broke it into a plugin, because if you go here and see, we are restoring the window state after startup. So the window is already created, and it's created by the default plugin. We will actually overwrite the already created window and not directly set the default window. This is a bit more modular and reusable, so you can later on reuse it to manage the window state from the game itself or from the editor itself. That's one thing. The downside is that there will be a time when the window is not in the safe state yet, as it's loading, of course. I plan to break this into another step where you have the splash screen, basically, and once we loaded the persistent window thing, we create the actual window or resize it to have the right state instead of being a splash screen. But anyway, going back to our running application, title, we'll configure it pre. We probably want to save the scale. Yeah, there is the scale factor and everything. Yeah, we can save that, but again, this is not necessarily something you need. That there is one thing that you don't see here, and I know you are going to miss, is the actual state of the window in Windows. So it's maximized or no, not maximized. If you maximize it and save this state, the size and everything, it will just be the same size but not maximized, which is slightly different. And this is something that Bevy currently don't provide in the window object. So we are going to grab that from init directly. So first things first, we need to create something that can hold our data. I'm going to link a few websites, two websites actually, into the description. One is the unofficial cheat book for Bevy, which has a lot of information that it's pretty much up to date. But if it's not, you can figure out where it's at currently, about how to use certain parts of Bevy. And another one that's more complete in some parts, than the other. So that's where I get some of these informations on how to get to these weird things like the actual window that we are using, you know. Now, there is a little problem here. We are storing integers, and this one is actually working on floats. Because you can have fractional size logically, but of course not physically. Anyway, this is a simple matter of taking care of the conversion. And then this is the weird part. We can set the maximized on this one. Which is actually a multi-cycle thing, so, or multi-frame thing. We set the maximized, it will create a command and then, you know, act on the window. But in any case, we can call it and then it will do its job. And hopefully this is all. If not, we can still set the presentation mode as well. We did not care about it here. That's probably all right. So here is our window. I'm going to make this a little bigger and move it around. Let's say let's just keep it here. Yeah, close it. Nothing happened. Yeah, you know why? Because I never used it. So we have a wonderful plugin that should do all this, but we're not using it. So I'm going to now do so. And now, problem was that I had the module defined in main, which is not good. I had it defined in library too. So that was the issue. With that said, you should be able to just run it now. And again, let's try to do it again. And now, as you can see, it popped back in. It was somewhere else before. We'll deal with it shortly. And it still just says up. But again, if I maximize it, you can see it, but I'm going to close it. And yep, it indeed works. As you can see, there is still a little problem. If I unmaximize it, you can see that it's now not maximized, but the window still stayed like huge. It covered the whole screen like it was maximized, but yeah, others probably just, you know, update the size of the window to a size it was before maximization. We should probably have another event listener that saves the size of the window before it was maximized as a fallback when you unmaximize it on Windows. For the moment, I don't care. What else do we want to accomplish today? I think this video went on long enough already. But in any case, we do have a window now that stores our default layout that we set up. It also stores the position and the scale of the window and maximized property too. So I would say this is a pretty good starting point. There is one other critical thing that is currently not working and I want it working. For instance, if I were to move this and press Ctrl Z or something, there is no undo. Of course, there is no undo because we didn't implement it. So in the next video, I'm going to walk through how to do that. It's probably going to be a shorter video, mainly because it's easy to do a naive undo in Bevy, but it's not going to be good for in the long run. So for the moment, the only last thing I want to do is actually customize the default window that we have. The main part you are going to see here is the window title that's going to be different than what we had before. Yep, in this case it's a game editor now, coming straight from there. So that's it. That's it for today. I hope it was meaningful and I hope I can cut it like short enough for you to consume it. I think this setup is like the basic that for what you need to have an editor. Just saving the layout, saving the window, which is something you need for a game too, in the end. And in the next video, I'm going to explore the undo mechanics that we can easily implement, which should be again useful for you if you just want, a general editor for the moment. Later on, I'm probably going to not rely so much on eGUI, maybe not at all. Bevy already has UI capabilities, layouting and everything. It works differently. When we get to the undo, you will understand why the immediate mode is not the perfect way to do this, but it's a start and it might just work out for you. So anyway, or we can probably do a mix of both words as well. But for now, thank you for watching, and I hope it was meaningful enough. And then I see you later, or well, not see you, but talk to you later. Have fun. Ciao.